You ever wake up in the middle of the night and just know something's wrong? Not because of what you see, but because of what you feel. That prickling on your neck, that gut-deep warning your body gives before your mind catches up. I ignored that feeling once. And for the rest of my life, I wish I hadn't. If you've ever felt that chilling instinct, the one that whispers you're not alone, hit that like button. Because tonight's story will make you trust your instincts again. This one's called The Man in the Tree. When I was 8 years old, I thought weekends were magical. Every Friday night, Mom would let me drag my blanket and pillow out into the living room and fall asleep watching old sitcoms. We lived out in rural Georgia. Just trees, crickets, and the distant croak of frogs. No neighbors. No cars. Just us. The glow from the TV flickered across the room while Nick at Night played reruns that only adults probably found funny. I'd always fall asleep before midnight, the static of the screen filling the silence as the house went still. It felt safe, like the world was too far away to hurt me. I didn't know the world was already watching. That night, I remember waking up suddenly, heart pounding, no sound, no dream. Just that feeling, like someone had pressed a cold coin against the back of my neck. At first, I thought it was the TV. The screen had gone black, and the only light came from the moon spilling through the big front window. Everything looked silver. Still. Perfect. But then, I saw it. A shape, darker than the dark, perched halfway up the oak tree across the yard. Not an animal. Not a shadow. A person. Sitting there, perfectly still. Watching. My throat went dry. My little body froze as every hair stood up on my arms. And then, as if sensing me, the shape tilted its head. That tiny movement was worse than anything, because it meant it knew I was looking. Our dog, Ranger, must have sensed it too. He jumped up from under the coffee table, growling low at first, then throwing himself against the window, barking so violently I thought the glass might shatter. That's what broke my paralysis. I screamed, a raw, wordless sound, and ran down the hallway, feet slapping the wooden floor. My parents' door flew open, and before I could say anything coherent, I was sobbing into my mom's arms. Someone's outside, I gasped. In the tree. Someone's in the tree. My dad didn't hesitate. He grabbed the flashlight, his gun, and called for Ranger. The door slammed behind him as they charged into the yard. I stayed with Mom, trembling. Minutes passed like hours. Every sound outside, every crunch, every bark, made me flinch. Then the door opened again. Dad came back in, breathing hard, flashlight beam flicking across the floor. "Nobody's out there," he said. "Must have been a shadow. You scared yourself." But his eyes didn't look convinced. He locked the door twice before turning off the lights. Mom tucked me into my real bed that night, next to my sister, who was still half asleep. Dad stayed up, pacing the hall with his coffee cup, muttering something about raccoons or kids playing pranks. But I knew better. I could still feel it, that invisible pull from the window. Eventually, exhaustion won. I turned my face to the wall and let my eyes close. That's when I heard it. A faint tapping. Soft. Deliberate. My stomach dropped. I rolled over, slowly, praying I was imagining it. And then I saw him. He was standing right outside my bedroom window, close enough that the moonlight caught his shape, a tall man, face shadowed by branches, hands pressed against the glass. But what froze me wasn't the sight of him. It was the way he moved. He raised one finger to his lips and gave a slow, silent message. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. He stared for a second longer, then turned and ran. Straight into the trees. Not stumbling. Not afraid. Just gone. And I swear, I heard him laugh. I must have screamed because the next thing I remember is my dad storming into the room, gun raised, shouting my name. The dog was going wild again, slamming himself into the window frame. Dad searched for hours that night. The woods, the road, the old barn out back. But he came back empty-handed, same tight jaw, same lie. Nobody's out there. He made it sound like he was comforting me, but I saw it. The way his hands shook when he locked the door again. The way he looked at that tree outside. For the next week, Dad left the porch light on all night. He even borrowed a neighbor's hunting camera, set it up by the oak. Every morning, he checked it before breakfast. But the footage was always blank. No faces. No motion. Just trees swaying in the wind. Still, I knew he'd been there. Because sometimes I'd find footprints in the dirt. Not deep like boots, but light, almost delicate like bare feet. And they always stopped right under my window. One night, I woke again to the sound of Ranger growling. Not barking, just low and continuous. I reached down to pet him from my spot on the couch, but my hand touched nothing. He wasn't there. The growling wasn't coming from inside. It was coming from outside. I turned toward the window and froze. The curtains were drawn halfway, and through that gap I saw him again. Only this time he wasn't alone. There was something behind him. A shape that looked wrong, too long, too twisted to be another person. It was crouched on the branch above him, unmoving, almost like it was part of the tree. And then, both of them, the man and that thing, turned their heads in perfect unison. And smiled. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember getting up. Just Dad bursting into the room again, followed by the sound of breaking glass. He fired 2 shots into the night, shouting something I couldn't understand. Mom was crying. My sister was crying. The dog was gone. When everything went still again, there was blood on the window. Not much, just a smear. Too high up for any animal. They never found anything. No footprints this time. No bodies. Just silence. We moved a month later. Dad said it was for a new job, but everyone knew better. He cut down the oak tree before we left. Every limb, every root, until nothing was left but a hole in the dirt. For a while, I thought that was the end of it. Until last summer. I'm 24 now. I hadn't thought about that night in years, until Mom called. She'd found something weird in an old box from our Georgia house. A stack of old photos that had been taken with the hunting camera. She said she didn't remember developing them. Said they must have gotten mixed up with old family prints. She sent them to me. Most were just black, bad exposure. But in one of them, there it was. The tree. The window. And in the bottom corner, a faint outline of a man's face, grinning straight into the lens. And just above him, something else. A shape with 2 hollow eyes, hanging upside down from a branch. They say you can always trust your instincts, that they're nature's warning system. I used to think that meant danger was out there. But maybe sometimes the danger never leaves. It just waits for you to stop looking. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me, what's the scariest thing you've ever seen outside your window? And if you dared subscribe for more stories that'll make you check your curtains twice tonight.